Okay, so we finished off, we were just here, and you found that this would be 5, comma 3, right? Yes? Okay, just double check because it should be 25. You have 25 minus 30 plus 8? 3. Okay, yeah. Okay, so then if we're plotting these points, 1, 3 is here. 2, 0 is here. That's an x-intercept, right? 3, negative 1 is here. And then it turns the corner and we have an x-intercept. The x-intercepts are always going to be symmetrical if there's 2 of them. And then we have 5, 3. Who can tell me what would you predict just based on the pattern that you're seeing here? If I plug in 6, what's 6 going to be? Yep, 6, 8. 6, 8, and you can tell because of that symmetry. So this is what our parabola shape looks like. Okay. And let's name what our intercepts. What are our x-intercepts? Where does it cross the x-axis? 2, 0, right? And 4, 0. You see that? So the x-intercepts are where we cross the x-axis. So we have always y is going to be equal to 0 on the x-intercepts. What is your y-intercept? Y-intercept is, yep, 0, 8. 0, 8, right? So the y-intercept is always going to be x is equal to 0. And then what is the vertex? Where does it switch directions? The low point, the minimum point. Yes, or, oh, 3, negative 1. 3, negative 1. I know, it's so hard to get that. Keep track of that. And notice that the vertex is halfway in between. The x value is halfway in between the x-intercepts. Okay, what caused the graph of the height, the one we were doing the height before? The height, h of x equals negative 16x squared plus 48x. What caused this to open downward? Yes. The a equals negative 16 caused it to open downward. Okay, what caused the graph x squared minus 6x plus 8 to open upward? You see how this graph opens upward? Yes, a equals 1 caused it to open upward. So the fact that a is positive will mean that the graph opens upward. The fact if a is negative, it will cause it to open downward because we'll always do this squaring business and then we'll be multiplying by the coefficient. That's going to be the, part 2. After you square the number, then you would multiply either by a negative, is going to make it open downward because the points are going to become negative. And here, the fact that x squared is all the negatives are going to get squared. You see how here the negatives got squared, so they became positive numbers when you square a negative. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing. For the parabola, whose equation is f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c, the vertex is going to be this. So this is a formula for the vertex. Now, you have seen part of this before in the quadratic formula. The x-coordinate is going to be negative b over 2a. And then once we take that number and we plug it in, we're going to get the y value. So that's where we have f of that number. So algebraically verify the vertex for the following 2 functions below. So the vertex here, we're going to use this formula, x equals negative b over 2a. Do you see, remember what a and b are? So tell me what a is here and what is b. Yes, a is negative 16, perfect. And b is 48. So we're going to plug those numbers in here. negative 48 over 2 times what? Negative 16. So that gives us negative 48 over negative 32. And let's just use our calculator for a minute. 48 divided by 32. Well, negative divided by a negative is a positive. 48 divided by 32 is 3 halves or 1.5. Yes, 3 halves, which is equal to 1.5. Now, if we look back at that graph we had, you see the vertex here, the x value is negative 1.5, or I'm sorry, is 1.5, not negative. Does everybody see that? That's the same value we got using this formula here. Now, actually, I didn't even do the vertex. That's the axis of symmetry right there, x equals 1.5. If I want to find the height of that, then I have to plug this number in. So this is x. When we plug it in, we have h of 1.5 equals negative 16 times 1.5 squared plus 48 times 1.5. So let's plug that in our calculator. Negative 16. Does anybody know what number we expect to get here? We expect to get 36 plus 48 times 1.5, and bam, that's 36. Why did you say 36? How many people said 36, and why did you say 36? Yeah, on the graph, when we look back at this graph, we can see that height, that vertex, was at 1.5, 36. So that's what we would expect to get when we plug that in, right? What's the vertex we expect to get from this equation? You said the vertex was 3, negative 1, right? So let's use that formula right here. F of, so we're going to use just the x equals negative b over 2a part. So tell me what is a and what is b in this equation. 1 and 6, good. And negative 6, right? Because we want to take that sign with it. Okay, so now we have negative 6 over 2 times 1. What's negative 6? 6 over 2, which is 3, yes? So there's our x equals 3. If we want to plug that in to find out what our y value is, we're going to take x equals 3, y equals 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 8. 9 minus 18 plus 8. And on the previous page, we got negative 1. The vertex here was 3, negative 1, right? The vertex for this one was 1.5, 36. That's the vertex. Okay, vertex. All right. Let's stop before we do the next example.